All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 2020 Home Investment Partnership Program Application Guidelines for the Community Housing Development Organization, or also known as the HODO cycle. Assisting you through the webinar today will be myself, Michelle Grimes. I'm with the Nebraska Department of Economic Development, the housing specialist, and also Dan Fools with Amplifund. Today's webinar is being recorded, uploaded to the state of Nebraska's website, which through the presentation, I'll show you where that's going to be saved. All participants are muted during the webinar. Please access the chat box if you have any questions. And we have Lynn, she's monitoring the chat box and be able to answer any questions. And if we have time in the end, we can bring some of those questions forward. We're also able to reach out to you after the webinar if you have some questions too. So again, thanks for attending, and we're going to get started here. Today's agenda, so we are going to walk through the application overview, the application instructions, Amplifund walkthrough, which is the online version of the application. Dan will walk you through that. And we're going to talk about uploads and resources. The overall HOME CHDO program information here, the Nebraska Department of Economic Development, NDED, or the department sometimes is referred to, Home Investment Partnership Program, is intended to address housing conditions related to community economic development needs, expand equal housing opportunities, create public-private partnerships to address housing needs holistically, linking housing with the supportive services to promote economic self-sufficiency and family preservation, and to promote and advance the goals of the Nebraska's 2020 through 2024 Consolidated Plan for Housing and Community Development. The state of Nebraska's HOME program is funded by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, which is also known as HUD, Home Investment Partnership Program. DED's role in the home projects as an investor, DED is seeking quality applications in order to select projects that will provide the best investment of federal resources to promote affordable housing. As a partner, DED is interested in providing input as early as possible in project design and also in working closely with awarded applicants in order to address any obstacles encountered during project development and implementing your project. So here, if you intend on applying for either the project application or the organization application, be sure to reach out to your program representatives, which we will okay, I'm getting some back. Did anybody else hear that?
Yep, I muted the situation.
Okay. All right, so back to, if you're applying for an application either through the program or through the organizational operating, please reach out to your program rep to help you, give you some technical assistance on what to apply for, help you with your budget, and help you submit a quality application and help you get the best score possible. And then after the applicants are awarded, those program reps will help you through any of the obstacles, like with contracts or special conditions, and help you get into a release of funds situation. In order to apply for home funds, it's important for applicants to review the 2020-2024 Comprehensive Plan and the 2020 Annual Action Plan, along with the full application guidelines. The department's comprehensive plan and annual action plan can be found. I'm going to show you where you can find it here. It's on our website, and that link will take you to the reports and plans section right here. You click on this link right here, and it'll actually bring up the document for you. It's 338 pages. It is quite long. It has a lot of great information. If you're looking just for the Chodo specific pages, just do your control find and type in Chodo up here. And it'll take you to all the pages that talk about Chodos. And if you keep going down, it'll take you to where you need to read like the funding sources and eligible applicants, and or it talks about the scoring criteria. It's a very interesting document, so be sure to read that. Sorry about that. So the guidelines, so this year it is an electronic application process. In the years past, we had applications submitted, mailed to our department. Everything this year going forward will be an online application only. DED encourages potential applicants to review the application guidelines thoroughly, reach out to your DED housing program staff, and then the Amplifund resources, this link here. So after today, it will be, the webinar will be saved up here. So you'll have access to all these links. So after today, I was told that there'll be like one right here that says home, but for registration, I'm gonna click on this one, and you can see that underneath here, the webinars and application information is on here that you can access.
Michelle, this is Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to the internet, it's showing us a gray page.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, I assume that's what's happening with everybody else, but.
Correct.
So you may, yeah. We're seeing your PowerPoint fine, but yeah, just now it's like a gray page. So,
Can you see
you may
this?
not, I'm not.
You're not seeing my other page?
No.
Oh,
So we may just have to follow up with people if they have problems. It doesn't seem, I don't know why the situation. Oh.
Did you see them?
Well, I'm getting some technical assistance, and I'm being told that you may need to share the internet application, that you're maybe not sharing the right, like the screen. So it's going to a different screen when you open it up, and that's why we're not seeing it.
Okay. Maybe when Dan gets on, maybe he'll be able to show where that's saved.
Sure. You probably need to drag it over to the screen that you're working on, that you're sharing, is what's happening. So.
Well,
Hi, this is Dan. I can show some of those pages too when I start sharing.
Perfect. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. Okay, so then I won't do all that. I'll just refer to Dan. Can you show this? Where was I? Okay, so then the webinar will be saved out on our website under the Amplifund resources. And then the application guidelines and the web links, the guidelines are also out on our website, and we'll make sure we put it in the same place as the webinar, like the other programs are out there. And then in those guidelines that we prepared, it also has the links in there that you can click on, and it'll take you to the Amplifund link for both the Chodo operating and the Chodo application. So the 2020 home allocation for the Chodo project we have $1,500,000, and for the total operating with the project, $150,000. So together, for the home project or program cycle, we have $1,650,000 for the 3 highest scoring eligible applicants being submitted for funding. Each eligible applicant can apply for a maximum activity grant amount of $500,000 and up to $50,000 in organizational operating, for a total of no more than $550 per project. So those that have applied in the past, the maximum was $250, I believe, for project and $16 for organizational. So we've increased those amounts this year. And then contracts will be for 24 months. For the total organizational operating application, home funds reserved for those activities is $150,000, with the 2 highest scoring eligible applicants being recorded or recommended for funding. The maximum grant amount request is $75,000. If awarded a total operating grant, the total organization will not be expected to have a total project within 24 months from receiving the total operating grant. We just would like a reasonable turnaround of your project following your organizational operating grant. Applications must score at least 200 points on the application to be funded during the 2020 home total operating cycle. Again, contracts will be for 24 months. Funding cycle timeline. Workshops today. Our full application is due Wednesday, September 30th by 6 o'clock Central. The applications are live now, so you can get on and start your application, but it will at 6 p.m. Central Time on the 30th of September. And no hard copies submitted this year. Everything will be online. Anticipated award letters will be distributed December. I'm sorry. Total eligibility and requirements. Each applicant applying through the total cycle must adequately document their total eligibility. Each applicant will need to certify or recertify their organization, meet the definition of a community development organization for Section 92.2, have the project eligible for the set-aside that the organization will own, develop, or sponsor in accordance with Section 92-300A, and has paid staff with demonstrated experience appropriate to the role of the organization that will fulfill for the project being funded. So I'm going to show you the following slide is an example of the checklist that will be filled out through Amplifund. And in the past, it was in the paper application to fill out and check and highlight where we can find these. That process is a little different this year. The checklist is coming from HUD, so we're following our HUD guidance on this part of the application. The total eligibility information will need to be completed prior to the applicant completing the full application. The home total eligibility checklist will ensure the proper setup of the total organization prior to completing the application. So here's an example of what the total eligibility and requirement checklist looks like. It will include questions regarding the legal structure of the organization, independence, organizational structure, accountability to the low-income community, and the capacity of the organization. And the items in blue font are items that need to be uploaded or attached as an upload. And then your rule citations are to the right if you want to read more about the definitions of each one of those. And I believe, and Dan will go over it, I'm sure, in the presentation, I believe you just hover over the rule citation and it should take you there. And I should say also with the checklist, so for totals that are coming back in and are already set up and it has applied in the past, they still have to go through this process to recertify, and it has to be done every year. For a CHDO coming in for your first time, you have to answer the same questions and attach maybe different documents. But by the time you get to the end of the checklist, you should know that and be aware that you are set up correctly. If you have any difficulties with the checklist or uploading anything, please reach out to your program reps, Amplifund, myself. It might just be as simple, you didn't click this or you didn't upload this. Just reach out for some help because we're here to help you. Home CHDO program, cycle selection and criteria process. All CHDO eligibility and funding applications, again, are due at 6 p.m. Central Time on September 30th. The applicant will need to complete the CHDO eligibility and funding application within Amplifund, which that's what we just talked about. At the end of the application period, the department will review all the applications submitted and determine which organizations are eligible CHDOs. If eligible for CHDO status, the applicant will be scored within the CHDO program cycle with other eligible applications for Home CHDO program funds in the program year 2020, which is July 1, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. The department intends to notify all applicants of approval and non-selection of Home CHDO program funds in December of 2020. Our Home CHDO program cycle selection criteria and process. So I put these side by side, your project scoring and your organizational operating scoring. Both applications have a possible total points of 500. This is the breakdown of the matrix of each section of the application. And Dan, when you get in there, he'll show you, if we get to the project design, it's going to show you how many points that's worth. And then in your answer, there's so many characters that you can type in there. And he'll show you that. Failure of an applicant to score a minimum of 200 total points on the application will result in the application not being funded during the 2020 Home CHDO program cycle. Your program reps, myself, someone will reach out to those non-selects and give you some technical assistance on what to change in the application to make it stronger for next year. CHDO program basic information. The Home Investment Partnerships Program, otherwise known as HOME, is intended to provide funds to eligible recipients for acquisition, rehabilitation, construction, and production of affordable housing to increase the supply of decent, safe, and sanitary housing for low to moderate income Nebraskans. Promote and advance the goals of the 2020-2024 Nebraska Consolidated Plan for Housing and Community Development, and provide a mechanism to leverage private investment in the development of affordable housing. Home CHDO funds are to be used by state eligible CHDOs. The purpose of the Home CHDO funds is to support community-based projects where the nonprofit organization intends to own, sponsor, or develop housing. As defined in 24 CFR 92.300, an organization choosing to apply for CHDO status should take careful consideration of the restrictions outlined in these guidelines, which your checklist that had provided will help you get through that process to make sure that your organization is set up correctly. Eligible applicants. Eligible applicants include community-based, nonprofit 501c3, 501c4, or Section 905 board organization of a 501c organization. Organizations with the provision of decent housing that is affordable to low and moderate income persons among the purposes of the organization. In addition, these organizations must meet and satisfactorily demonstrate the prescribed requirements in these guidelines. The Nebraska Department of Economic Development, DED, or also known as the department, determines nonprofit organizations as an eligible CHDO as defined in the Home Investment Partnership Program 2013 Final Rules, Subpart A, Section 92.2. Applicants submitting a Home CHDO program application are not eligible to apply for a Home CHDO operating program application. So you have one or the other. You're doing a project or you're doing organizational operating to help get your organization capacity up and working on a project. So eligible activities include assisting home buyers with purchasing newly constructed housing developed by the CHDO, assisting home buyers with purchasing housing that was purchased or rehabilitated by the CHDO, developing new constructed affordable housing, and purchasing an existing building and rehabilitating it for the use of affordable housing. In eligible activities, any activity not specifically authorized under eligible activities is ineligible to be carried out with home program funds. This section further identifies ineligible activities. So any furnishings, personal property, anything integral structural fixture, including the purchase of equipment, fixtures, or motor vehicles. Mobile homes as defined by the department, the following activities, if not directly related to eligible housing activities, including but not limited to housing education, acquisition of property and easements, public facilities, development or improvement, relocation, clearance, and demolition, or properties financed or properties that will be financed with low-income housing tax credits are not eligible. Projects that are seeking but not received a low-income housing tax allocation may apply to the Nebraska Investment Finance Authority, also known as NIFA, in the NIFA DED annual low-income housing tax credit set-aside application cycle. So the other application cycles and funding sources, and it talks about the DED and NIFA, we call it LIHTC cycle. There's a joint application with NIFA and us, with DED, and we use Home and National Housing Trust Funds as the source of funding for that application cycle. No Nebraska Affordable Housing Trust Funds or we call it the trust fund application. The home, we're not using that for match this year for the 2020 program year. The details, NIFA's qualified annual action plan, I would take you to that link, but it sounds like that's not going to work. So on the NIFA, when you get into the website or into the webinar later, you can click on that. It'll take you to the NIFA website, and on the right-hand side, there's like bullet points. It'll show you their QAP and their application. And if you have any questions regarding that application cycle, you can contact myself or Sarah Dakota with NIFA. Resources, again, contact your DED Regional Housing Program representative early in the application planning process. And then AMPLIFund there's a link here to take you into some resources in AMPLIFund, which I believe is on our website. Questions regarding forms or the process is Kylie Bischoff, is our application coordinator, or myself. This is a map of our housing program reps for the state of Nebraska, and they're color coded. We have Christy McClung with the Western, she's in the orange counties. Laura Hart has all the central. Barb Pearson is here in the pink. Well, for me, it's pink. And in the southeast, Nick Drapinski is in the southeast part of the state. And then on here is our housing manager, Lynn, and then myself with Home and National Housing Trust Funds. Evan Clark oversees the trust funds, or the Nebraska Affordable Housing Trust Funds, and the CDBG. Our application coordinator, again, Kylie Bischoff, and our compliance coordinator is Kara Lacey. The 2020 home application outline, when we get into the actual online, when Dan takes you in, he'll show you each one of these sections here. I'm going to take you to the table of contents. To me, this is easier to look at how it's all laid out. So the overall program information is in the beginning of the application, and then you can go down the HOME CHDO program. So these are your projects, goes down to like page 17. And then it goes down into how to get into the application and explains each part of it. If you want to get into just the home operating program, you go to page 25, jump over onto the right-hand side here of the page, and it'll take you down to page 27. Well, 25 through 27, we'll talk about just the HOME CHDO operating program, which that's your organizational application to help with capacity. You can do training, you can do programs that you need to be able to do your projects. That's your organizational operating. Over here is your program or your project, is page 14 through 17. And then when you are in the table of contents, on page 27, these are our guidelines. It'll take you back to page 19, I believe, where it says HOME CHDO program application instructions. Instead of doing the instructions twice in the guidelines, we just refer you back to that page to keep you going through the application. And then it talks about your budget template, your performance plan, your uploads, definitions, and additional resources are in the back. And how come I can't click? Oh, it's Dan's turn. Dan is with Amplifund, and he's going to walk you through the application. You there, Dan?
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Can you see Amplifund on your screen?
Yes.
Excellent. All right. So this is what the opportunity page in Amplifund is going to look like within the Amplifund applicant portal. Before we do that, I did just want to share some of the links that Michelle provided and is on the PowerPoint as well. So she had mentioned that there is the Amplifund resource page that will provide some guidance in terms of kind of how to walk through the application within the Amplifund applicant portal. So you'll be able to go here, and this is where she was talking about how there's going to be a specific section for the HOME program after the webinar today, where you'll be able to find the webinar and some other helpful resources that will probably be useful in assisting you filling out the application. So this is one of the links that Michelle was sharing in the PowerPoint, as well as that reference that she made to checking the consolidated plan and the action plan when you're going and you're filling this out, the annual action plan here. So when you click on that link through the PowerPoint, you'll be able to come through here and you'll be able to see the requisite information. And then finally, one of the other things that I wanted to just show here too is the application guidelines for the HOME program. And there's a lot of good information in here. So all of these links are available within the documentation that's going to be shared that Michelle has put together and that she'll be providing. And then also just a couple of other things like that, the link to the NIFA page. So just some additional resources. I just wanted to have those up so we can show you what that looks like. And one of the other links that she provided and that she showed within that PowerPoint was actually a link to apply for the HOME program via Amplifund. And when you click that link that she showed, this is the page that you will be brought to. So Michelle did a pretty good job of kind of laying out that, you know, on this landing page, you'll be able to see some program specific information about the opportunity that before you apply. And really, at any point, you'll be able to come in here and view this page and see pertinent information. And then another good resource here is within this page itself is a link, excuse me, to that to the program guidelines. So if you were curious, if you did need to follow up and view that PDF that I showed of those program guidelines, you'd be able to view them through here by just clicking on this link as well. So upon being brought to this page, there's a couple of good ways to get started. You'll be able to download a copy of the entire application by clicking the download application. So if you wanted to view it here as a PDF before you actually fill it out online, then you'll be able to do that. Or even if you wanted to, download it as a PDF and review the material and have that as you're filling it out online, you can do that as well. So we have this download button here to help you out. You can also print, which would just print this program page. And really, when you are ready to apply, the apply button is where we'll get started. So from this page, when I'm ready to actually apply to the program, I'm going to go ahead and click on the apply button, and it's going to bring me to this page right here. If you have applied for an opportunity within Amplifund already, then you already have a login. You already have a username and a password that you utilized to apply for whatever other opportunity through here, through Nebraska Department of Economic Development. So go ahead and log in using your existing username and password. If you've forgotten what your password is, you can go ahead and click on the forgot password link. You'll be prompted to enter in your email, and we'll send you a password reset. If it is your first time using the Amplifund applicant portal, then you can, instead of filling this out, just go directly to the register button. And this is going to provide you with a registration page where you'll be able to create an account. So if you haven't already created an account and registered within the Amplifund applicant portal, then this page will allow you to set that up so you can take the next step of applying. Now, when we are creating our registration, we are required to put in an email address and a password. So set up the email address that you want to log in with, and you can go ahead and create your password here. One of the nice things about the registration process is that if you're not sure if you've registered already, as soon as you type in your email address, we will tell you. If you get a check mark here, that means you're good to go and you're good to register. If not, if you enter in an email that's already been registered, then you'll get a message here indicating that you've already registered, and you'll be prompted to go to just log in with your existing username and password. So once you establish a new email address that will become your username and a new password, you'll be prompted to enter in some contact information. So any field here that has an asterisk is a required field. So you'll be able to put in your first name, your last name. You can fill out any of these fields right here, but they're not required fields. So just keep that in mind as you're moving through the registration process. If you leave any of the fields that are required blank, you will not be able to continue with registration. Once you fill out the contact information, you'll also be brought to a page that shows organization information. So here you're putting in some details about yourself or about the contact person that's applying. And then here you're putting in information about your actual organization. So as you're registering your organization, if any of the details that you've already filled in above are the same for your organization, you just check the box, and anything that you've populated will auto-populate here. So you put in your organization name, and you will have to fill out some address details regarding your organization. So just go through and fill these out. Make sure all required fields have been entered, and you'll be able to click on register. So if you click on register and nothing happens, most likely one of the fields has not, one of the required fields has not been populated. I would just review all the details on here. make sure you have all the required information, and then go ahead and click on that register button. Once you register, you'll be brought to a terms and conditions page that you can scroll through, and you can accept the terms and conditions. And once you're registered, you will also view here in the top right-hand corner, now your email address will populate here. So this is a good way to identify and to verify the fact that you have successfully registered here. I also, before we even get into the application itself, for first-time users, I definitely just also want to highlight some information regarding your username. You can click on this little drop-down menu, and you can access things like account information, and you can access the ability to change your password if you ever need to change your password. One thing I want to do is I do want to go and click on the account information section. I just want to show some of the different options, some of the different things that we're looking at here. So the account information section is comprised of these different areas right here. We have applications, account information, users, frequently asked questions. If you need to change any of this account information, you can click on the edit button here. You can go in and you can, if you entered your address in wrong, you can make those changes accordingly. If you've applied for any other applications within the Amplifund applicant portal for any other programs, you'd be able to see those here in your applications tab. Also, we have a users tab. So if you are not the only person within your organization that is going to be working on this application, then you can click on users and you can add in additional users to your organization. So if you have someone that's helping you out that needs to have access to your application within your organization, then you can go ahead and click on add user. The process of adding in a user is relatively straightforward, where you'll be able to go through and type in contact information, make sure you provide an email address, and then you'll be able to invite that user in as well. So a few different options here as it pertains to being able to log in and to see some helpful information. Again, this is all going to be part of the users section. So you'll be able to see any of that information here when you're going through and when you're filling this all out. So it's always good information to have here. So once you are logged in, then you'll be able to start your application. And now this time, because I see here that I'm logged in, once I click on apply, instead of taking me to a page where it asks me to register, now it's asking me to go ahead and start actually filling out the application. So I'm going to get into some of the application content in a second, but before we do that, I just want to point out some navigational elements that you'll see that should help you navigate through the application itself. So right here at the top, what we're seeing is called a timeline. This is going to have all of the different sections of the application. Again, Michelle did a very good job of clearly laying out the different areas of the application and where you would find those. And as we're looking at it here, you can see there's going to be the application forms where you'll see a lot of the information that's required, and we'll see things like the eligibility page and the project design that Michelle talked about a lot. Here is the budget section where you'll be able to fill out your budget and your performance plan. So the timeline allows you to navigate through. So if I wanted to just skip right to my budget and start filling that out, I could just click here and it would take me to the budget page. Also, the timeline is a good indicator of when things are completed. So as you'll see and as I'll show you as we walk through the application, every section of the application needs to be marked as complete in order to move on, in order to eventually submit the application. Once a section is marked as complete, then the circle that indicates what section it is will turn into a check mark, just like we're seeing here. So when it's time to submit our application, the expectation is that every one of these circles has a check mark in it, indicating that all sections have been completed. So again, timeline is a great resource for us to navigate through the application, as well as be able to mark and to view our progress as we're going through the application. So this first section, the project information section, is the first section that appears when you click on apply. And it's asking a couple of different things. The top part is asking for basic application information. So here under the application name, this is where you have the ability to name your application. Common naming conventions here on the application name would be to put, the name of your organization and your project, something along those lines to distinguish when you submit it that this is your CHDO application. The next section is where you indicate how much you're requesting, and it's broken out by the total amount you're requesting from the funder, as well as any match contributions that are also going to be added in. So here, when you're putting in the total amount of award you're requesting, this is how much you're requesting from DED for the program. You type that in here. And you'll notice how when I start typing into these open fields, my total award budget will start populating here. If I have my match contributions here as well, then I can enter those in under the cash match contribution section. And then that adds it into the total award budget. So it's broken out by the amount that you're requesting from your funder, the amount that you're contributing in match, and then also it shows us the total award budget. One thing that I'll point out, and we'll take a look at this when we get into the budget section, is that our budget is going to validate against these different amounts. So I have a total award budget of $25,000. When I'm completing my budget, it knows that I'm requesting $15,000 of agency-funded money and $10,000 to match. So if I try to allocate over any of these, I will get a validation message. And I'll show you how that looks once we get to the budget. But here, it's important to indicate and to be accurate and correct with the amount of award we're requesting and also what we're planning on contributing in match. This primary contact section here is going to allow us to enter in primary contact information for the application. So yes, we've already registered within the portal, and that information is going to auto-populate, it's going to default here, but sometimes the person that's completing the application is not actually the primary contact person for the organization or for the application itself. So this provides you with an opportunity to indicate who that actual contact person should be for the application. And again, you'll be prompted to put in these required fields, which indicate address, city, state, and postal code. So once all of our required fields in this section are completed, then we can go through and we can go to our next section. But I will point out that in addition to actually filling out all the required fields on here, in order for us to actually go through and to indicate that this section has been completed, we also have to mark the page as complete. I don't know if you noticed, but this was grayed out until I filled out all required fields. And it tells you this field is required. So marking a section as complete is how we get those check marks here at the top that I was talking about. That's going to allow us to submit moving forward. And every section in the application needs to be marked as complete. Now, if you weren't sure what, for example, what postal code you wanted to put in here, or if you weren't sure, who the primary contact person is, you could absolutely save this page and then come back to it later and mark it as complete. Also, you can mark this page as complete. And then if you wanted to change something, you could always uncomplete it, make the change you wanted to, and then complete it again. Marking as complete does not fully lock it down, but it will allow you to see and it will indicate that this section has been completed. So once you're through with the project information page, you can start moving on to the other areas of the application. And you can either jump right to the application form section or jump to one of the other sections, or there's also the save and continue button. So what the save and continue button allows us to do is if you wanted to just jump to the next section in sequence, the save and continue button will just take you to the application forms. So I'll click save and continue. And now I'm in my application form section. And before we even look at the application forms and start going through some of the material that Michelle highlighted, I also wanted to point out that I can see because we marked that project information section as complete, now it has a check mark in it, where before it just looked like this. So again, once every section has all required fields populated and marked as complete, then we'll see, hopefully, we'll see these check marks in each one of these sections. So as Michelle mentioned, application this year is all online. You'll be submitting it through Amplifund, and you'll be able to begin interacting with the application forms by identifying the application form you want to work on and clicking into it. So let's get started with part one with the general information section. And you'll be able to type directly into this applicant portal here in order to fill out and to populate your application. So here you'll be putting in your applicant name. Again, any field with a asterisk means that it's a required field. So all of these fields must be populated and we are we're asking for address line 1, you have to populate your city, so a lot of other information. Postal code. Note that you'll have to select from your drop-down menu your county here. So just open the drop-down menu. You'll be able to choose whatever county you're applying from, and then also local contact information. As you're populating this information here, again, you can just click in and type directly into the application itself. So just keep that in mind. And all required fields must be populated. Also, please note that some fields have some instructions for you. So like here, tax ID, it tells you don't include the dashes. And actually you have a character limit as well. So you'll have to start typing it in, and the character limit begins to count down as you begin typing. Same thing with the DUNS number here. You want to just type in your DUNS number, and again, it has that character limit. SAM expiration date. This is a date field, so you'll be able to click here into the box and choose the date of your SAM expiration date. You'll also be able to type the date in as long as it fits the convention into the box as well. So you can type it in, or you can use the calendar on it. So this section wraps up by asking, is the person preparing the application the same as the local contact? If you choose yes, then you're done with this page and you can move on. If you choose no, then it's going to prompt you to type in who is the person preparing the application if they're not the same as the local contact. So just keep in mind, we won't force you to fill out any fields that aren't applicable, but some of these questions are conditional, meaning that, you know, based on the answer that you provide, they will, certain responses will populate here. And I will also mention that, you know, as you're going through, you can always save your progress. So maybe I'm not ready to mark this as complete. I can see that I have additional fields that haven't been populated. If I click on mark as complete here, it's going to give me this error message. It's going to let me know that I can't mark it as complete because these fields have not been populated. So it gives you that message, and then you can scroll up and you can see highlighted in red which fields are yet to be entered in here. Even though I can't mark this page as complete yet, I can save it. So I definitely want to make sure that I'm saving my progress as I go so I don't lose any information either. So always good to just continue to save. Even if you're not ready to mark as complete as of yet, it's good to just to save your progress in here. Now, if I wanted to go back and I wanted to see whatever my next application form was going to be, then I could always click back into the application form section to see a list of my application forms. Another thing you can do is from the application. So once I want to go to the next one, I can click save and continue. It's going to take me to the next form in sequence. So all I did was click save and continue, and it automatically took me to form 2. If I click save and continue here, it's going to take me to form 3, and so on. So here, when we're looking at this next part of the page, again, more information, more on the application page to enter information into here. And then we have the certifying official example. So if I click on this, so this is actually where we would indicate who the certifying official is. And for this, we would need to click on the page. You would have to print this out, provide a signature in blue ink, and then here you'd be able to upload that back into the application. So because that signature in blue ink is required, then fill out the form, sign it, include this information, save it, and then upload it back into the application. Upload it back into the application so you can go ahead and you can provide that signed copy over as part of the application packet. All right, now a couple of things that we can get into that were mentioned by Michelle specifically within the application, within the presentation that preceded this, are things like part 4, where we'll see the HCDO eligibility form. So if I click on HCDO eligibility, then I see some information and some required document uploads here. And it's going to guide you, and it's going to tell you, what are the different documents and the different uploads that are going to be required. So you'll just be able to go here and you want to upload your charter, articles of incorporation, bylaws, resolution of the organization's board of directors. And then, similar to what we just looked at, on the signature page, we have additional documents here that we'll need to click on the green. So the board member certification, we're going to want to click here so we can view the page, fill it out, and then upload it back in here. And the same thing with the board roster certification. So we're clicking on the link to it in the green, and then we're uploading it back here with this upload button. And here in this section, the legal structure section, again, this is what Michelle was making reference to, where you can see the specific citations. They're hyperlinked here in green. So if I clicked on that, then it would show me what the specific citation is. Also, there's another link here. So when you're looking for these specific citations as part of the HCDO eligibility, then go through and find the letters in green, and then as part of that checklist, go ahead and upload for example, your certificate of good standing. And then you'll see here, you'll be prompted, you'll have to check the box. Some of the other things like what document was submitted to demonstrate this item, and then you'll be able to indicate here, and again, checking the box in order to indicate affirmation there. So you'll be able to scroll through the checklist, the CHDO eligibility, and you'll be able to check and upload documents as appropriate. Remember, looking at some of the different descriptive information, some of the descriptions on what's required, and then anytime you're looking for some type of citation or reference, anything that's hyperlinked is going to appear here in green, and you'll be able to click on it and go to that page. Here at the bottom of the eligibility page, then you'll see there's the CHDO certification. You'll be able to, again, check the box to affirm, indicate one of the following. Here you have to type in your first and last name, enter your title, check the box, and then indicate the date that you're electronically signing this. Once everything on this page has been checked, once all documents have been uploaded, then you'll be able to mark as complete. Of course, we already know that I have several fields that don't have information in them. That's highlighted by, if I go through and I can see which fields have red on them. If I do just want to save the progress that I've already made, I may not be done with this page yet, but I can at least save the progress that I've made and move on to the next application form. And again, the Save and Continue button will allow me to save my progress and jump forward into the next application form in sequence, which again is one of the forms that was specifically referenced in the presentation earlier, the project design and impact section. So a lot of that criteria that Michelle was walking through, we're going to be able to see that here, and it's going to be reflected here. So in this project design section, it's asking, it's telling us what we have to do and what, what type of information we have to provide, and it's showing us total possible points, 150 points, and we have these narrative text boxes that allow us to enter information directly into the application itself. So you can type in your project design answer here. There's a character limit on this, and it'll begin counting down again, just like the other fields we saw. So it starts to count down as you type information in. Same thing with the next question here, where it's going to ask, and it provides us with this character limit. It indicates about how much that is or how much that represents. Here you'll be able to upload a map of the area. You'll have to answer a question. Is it new construction? This is one of those conditional questions that I referenced, where if you select yes, there's more questions to answer. If you choose no, then move on to the next question. Program guidelines and reuse plan. You'll be able to upload that here. And then our need and impact section. Again, following on from what was described earlier, we have what we're looking for here, as well as the possible points, and then more narrative questions where you can enter your answers into these text boxes to allow and to to provide the requisite answers out to DED when they're reviewing your application. Again, here, project financing, very similar, where we have our possible points. We have our, what we're looking for in terms of the answers. Here's our text box where we can type in our narrative response. And again, we have additional uploads that are required for this project financing section. The collaboration section follows, same pattern, a description, an explanation, possible points, and then the question, the narrative questions. Capacity has the possible points, and then a couple of extra, does the community have any non-DED funded housing projects? If you select yes here, then there's additional information to provide based on these conditional questions as well. This application form as well needs to be marked as complete, once it's done, in order to ensure that we're able to move forward and we're able to go ahead and eventually submit the application, which marking as complete can only take place once a form has actually been all the required fields have been populated and the form has been completed. I'm going to go back up here to the application forms section. And as you can see, there's a lot of different forms that are required here as well. And a lot of different forms that we have that can be selected. So one thing that you'll also notice as we're looking through this is we have our different exhibits that are represented here. And the different exhibits need to be accessed electronically via this application form section. I'll just choose one. And on some of these exhibits, you'll be able to indicate which ones apply to your project and your application and which ones don't. So for example, as a result of the four-factor analysis, has a LAP been developed? If you say yes, then the form populates and you have to fill out the form. If not, then you can just go ahead and click no. If it doesn't apply to you, just click no. You still have to mark this page as complete, even if it's a no. You mark it as complete and you can move on to the next exhibit. This exhibit, for example, is requesting that the attachment gets downloaded, filled out, and then uploaded back here. So in terms of downloading the attachment, clicking on the link here will be sufficient to populate this Word document that needs to be filled out and uploaded back in. I'm going to click back into the application forms tab here so we can look at all of our application forms again. And one thing that I'm also going to point out, as I mentioned, every form within each section has to be marked as complete in order to eventually be able to submit our application. So one thing to look at and to point out here is we have this status bar that provides us with somewhat of a guide as it relates to our progress. So if there's any application forms that have not filled any information out on yet, then they will show up as new. If I've begun filling out part of the form and saved it, then the form will show as in progress. If I fill out a form and marked it as complete, it will show up as complete. So this is a good way, this is a good guide here that will allow us to kind of keep track of our progress as it pertains to all of our different application forms to ensure that everything's been filled out to completeness here. Once all of the application forms have been marked as complete, you'll see the status update for each form. It'll say complete for each one. And that's how you know that all of them are done and that eventually when you want to submit, you'll be able to submit without any issues. So in addition to the application form section that we have here, we also have our budget section. So I did mention that there is some validation between what we're entering in here in the budget and what we said we requested in this first part. So I'm going to click on the budget tab, and this is going to show us our budget. So as we're looking at this page, it's already actually showing us what we put in that project information section. Remember, I typed in that I was requesting $15,000 of grant funded money and $10,000 of non-grant funded money. So that's all showing up here. And it's useful to see here as a guide. Now, actually, what we're going to be entering into this budget itself is going to happen here on the category level. So you'll see here, we have our budget categories. We have the organizational operating category, new construction home buyer, purchase, rehab, resale. So if you want to begin adding proposed spending to any of these categories here, click on the plus sign next to the name of the category to begin adding detail. Now, when you click on that plus sign, you'll also note that there are some instructions here to guide you through. So it shows what some eligible costs are here, how to go about entering in match if you want to enter in match. So that's just one thing, a good thing to look at. As you're filling out a line item, then you'll have to type in the name here. So, and you'll put in the direct cost. So let's say my direct cost on this budget line item is $5,000. And if I have any non-grant funded funds, like any matching funds that I want to enter in, I click that drop down and choose yes. And here I can indicate the cash match. So I can either enter it as a dollar amount or a percentage. So if I'm matching this at, let's say, $2,000, I type that in here, and it's going to tell me my total budgeted is what I put in direct cost, and this is the breakdown. And now in this narrative section, I can actually indicate what I want to put in here in order to describe this budget line. I'm going to go ahead and click on the create icon. It says item was created successfully, and now I have a budget line item. Here's my new construction home buyer. I can add a line item in here. Maybe this line item may be 100% match. So if I'm going to match, let's say, I just want to indicate I don't have any funding that I'm requesting, but I have, let's say I'm going to contribute $2,000 to new construction. So I type in $2,000. I say that it is non-grant funded. And here I can say that it's either, as a percentage, it's either 100% match, or I can say this, the dollar amount, I can say that yes, 2,000 out of 2,000 is match. And I can click on create there. And now here we have the grant funded versus the non-grant funded. You're not limited to just one line item here. You can also add in multiple line items per category. So if I wanted to add in another line item here to my organizational operating category, I can go ahead and click on the plus sign, and I can just add in a second line item. As you're going through and as you're completing this budget, you'll be able to see and to keep track with these two different items here. So you'll be able to view that information. And you'll also be able to mark this section as complete when completed. And you'll be able to go ahead and save and continue in order to move on to the next section. Or you can go ahead and you can click on the performance plan in order to move on to the performance plan section. So as we're looking at the performance plan section here, this is going to be a good way for you to add in goals or track progress against these goals that you may be completing over time. Now, not all of these are are going to be required here, but a lot of them will be, but some of them are required. So here, for example, leveraged funds. You'll have to propose the total amount of leveraged funds in here, and you'll be able to click Add Goal. You can name this leveraged funds. And then here you can put in the total amount of leveraged funds for the project. And you can add in a description if desired. Go ahead and click there. And then here, the completion dates are also required fields here. So you'll be able to go through and add in your completion dates, put in a description for what the completion date is for, type in a due date, click on save. You can go ahead and, again, you're not limited to just creating one. You can click and create multiple here. So I can go ahead and do add goal, and then I can add in, my second completion date goal, for example. And then just making sure to put in the actual date. There's also these goals here, which allow you to indicate any additional goals that you want. So these are also optional. And if there's anything that you want to add in here, anything that you want to make available, and just kind of you wanted to share with the Department of Economic Development here, you'll be able to click on the add goal, and you'll be able to indicate through a variety of goal types what is the actual goal that you're adding in here. Once you've at least filled out the required goals, then you'll be able to mark this section as complete here. So filling out the performance plan information will allow you to see and allow you to track this information by clicking on the plus sign. Now, once you've filled everything out on this application, then you'll be able to go ahead and you'll be able to click on the submit button. And the submit button is also a good indication of if there's anything left on this page, if you need to do anything else, or if you're good to go. So the first indication, as I mentioned before, all of the sections here must be marked as complete. All the different sections need to have a checkbox here in the top part of it. So as long as all sections have a checkbox, then you'll be able to submit your application. Now I can see that not all of my sections have a check in it. I can definitely see here it's telling me I have required forms that have not been completed. I have some budget errors that require my attention. Also, one big reason why I know that I can't submit my application is because the submit button is grayed out. I can't even click it. If all of my sections are marked as complete, then I'm going to be able to actually, this is going to be green, and I'll be able to click submit to view, to submit my application. And once you do submit your application, you'll get an email indicating that you've successfully submitted an application to the Department of Economic Development. So submit button will be green when all sections and all fields have been populated and marked as complete. The review button allows you to click here to download a zip file of your application materials, including including things that have been filled out. It's just always good to review before you submit. So the application is contained, within this opportunity link. It is made up of these sections: the project information section, the application forms, which contain all the forms that need to be filled out relative to the project. Using the timeline here to navigate is important and it's useful. Also, the timeline is a useful tool in terms of being able to check progress, making sure that you're eventually able to submit. So at this point, I can pause and I can see if any questions have been submitted. Or if anyone has questions they've been holding, feel free to submit those.
Hi, Dan.
Hi, Lynn.
When I'm getting an echo. I think we're good with questions.
Okay.
I've been taking care of stuff. Sorry, I don't know what the echo is.
That's okay. Awesome. So I'll just say, as Michelle pointed out before, that page that we looked at here, not this page. I mean, this page is useful and required as well, but the page with the Amplifund resources on it is going to be, this page is going to provide some useful information. There's a general Amplifund information section with some general user guides, and then and some videos. But then also, as Michelle mentioned, there's going to be a section for home on this website as well, where you'll be able to access some the webinar and some specific documents and some specific resources. And Lynn, Michelle, if you want, I can stop sharing. I can turn it back over to you guys.
Yes, I'm ready. I have a question for you. Is there a browser with Amplifund?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear part of that. What was the question?
Is there a browser that works best with Amplifund?
It's a very good question. So Amplifund works on all the most, works best on the most recently updated versions of all browsers. I would recommend, I typically use Chrome and Firefox, as I find it works the best with those. Chrome, Firefox, Edge, it works well, especially the most updated version of any browser as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good question.
Okay, so.
Hi. Can I ask a question, Michelle? This is Kelvin with NeighborWorks.
Sure.
I guess one of the questions I have for you, Daniel, is there a way when we print out the format after you do the application, the format that's on Amplifund seems to change when you go to the PDF version? Is there any way to keep it the same?
The format when you print it out, that is the format that it comes out in. One of the things that you can do, and depends on what you're looking at, like which part you're downloading or you're printing out specifically. Also, each form can be individually printed out with your answers in it as well. So that may be a different option in terms of the layout as well.
Okay, are there certain like characters? Okay, there we go. Are there like certain characters you can't use on the narrative? Because I noticed I couldn't use like dashes or a specific amount, or like if I wanted to do a list, my numbers would look weird or any of that. Is there a suggestion to improve that or to best apply that?
You can try a couple of different things. I don't know one way that's great off the top of my head without just looking at it and trying to play with it. You can, I don't know if you've tried copy and pasting from Word. That may work. Um, but yeah, I'm not familiar. I'm not sure. I think just kind of making sure. I think just maybe trying to type in there and see what looks and what works best.
Okay. Some questions then?
All right, I think we're, Michelle, I don't know if we all caught that. I have everybody muted again, so we'll let you finish this off. Michelle, I'm not sure we heard you. Michelle, are you with us?
But you can't hear me?
No, we can hear you now.
Okay. All right. I just need to get back to the presentation. Okay, so I cannot. So Dan stopped sharing, so I need to share what I have, right? Sorry for the technical assistance here.
We can see your screen. We're good. Home
Okay.
CHDO program questions.
Okay, got it. Okay. Let's go back. Okay, here we go. All right, and whenever my categories. Okay. So we're going to go into the questions on the application. I'm not going to read all the questions. I'm just going to highlight some of them. So when you're working on an application for the program application or a project, one activity, so one new construction, one rehab, you don't do both. You do a new construction application or you do a rehab application. And your detailed description, please reach out to myself or a program rep for any technical assistance in the beginning stages of your application. We would like to help you prepare a quality application that shows readiness, that you're ready to go with a project. We are anticipating more applications this funding cycle, which means more competition, and the ones that score the highest will be the ones that get funded. So please reach out to your program reps, talk through what your project ideas are, see if there's any assistance that they can give you. And we don't want to see a lot of fluff in the writing. You can see that you have so many characters per answer. So answer the questions as best as you can to identify your project. Activities, I went over that. Let's go to the next one. So we want to know if they're single family units, if you're doing new construction, are they duplexes? Be very detailed on what you want to construct. And with your project design, being a CHDO means that you're getting community involvement in deciding what your project should be. So if the need is duplexes, make sure you tell us how did you determine that you need duplexes. If it's purchase, rehab, resale, how did you determine that? Who, you know, what kind of meetings did you perform to come up with that project? If it's single family units, same thing. Describe if there's any a waiting list that you have, any potential beneficiaries. Your clear and reasonable work plan and your project timeline, those are very important to have a detailed timeline, and your completion dates on when you think you're going to meet those. Again, project readiness, to be able to tell us that you have the sites under control, or you have an idea where you're going to build. You do have a list of applicants for your purchase, rehab, resale, and so you can see a waiting list, so that shows readiness. And then Dan went over uploading the different documents. So here it does say a DED site visit form, or site visit form, and all attachments to that form. That is for new construction. If you have a new construction project and you have the site identified on where you're going to build, we do need the site visit form completed prior to application, and all the attachments uploaded with that. And the application guidelines go through the process on how you need to do that. If you are doing new construction, we do want to see architectural plans, 8.5 by 11 sheets, just like a normal sheet of paper. That includes your site plans, any elevation drawings, schematic floor plans. This also shows readiness when you're doing a new construction, so we can see what you're wanting to build or need to build. And then, of course, program guidelines need to be uploaded. Needed impact, that's a possible of 100 points. In this section, you just need to tell us, inform us on how you came up with the need, what that impact is going to be when you do, if you do get funded, what that impact is going to be for that community, region, or service area. Project financing, Tom or Dan went through all that. Some of the project financing things that we need uploaded and answered. The most information that you can give us about how you're going to finance this, other than our source of funds, if you have any matching funds, any other grant resources. We would like a list of any preliminary or firm commitments, and if you have any copies of letters showing that you do have some of those commitments in place, again, shows readiness. Describe how the home funds will be invested and how they will be secured, and if any funds will be recaptured. That's very important to answer that also. Describe the funds. I can't get rid of the top bar to see all my questions here. Sorry. Project financing and credit documentation, we again upload those documents and the most recent balance sheet, income and expense statements, and any fund commitment letters, if they're applicable, to get them uploaded. Collaboration, 75 points, possible points, identify any relationships with your developers, consultants, professionals, contractors that you're going to be working with in the project, and any support from the community or partners in the community. Any public involvement, your meetings, if and how many attendees, any strategic planning that you did, marketing or social media to put your project together. Capacity, this is 100 points, possible points. Identify your key players, your responsible, and the responsibilities involved in the home project. Explain how your organization has the capability and capacity to undertake the project, and also let us know what you are currently doing and how your organization has shown capacity getting houses and units completed and being able to move on to the next project. This is new, and actually the HUD certified counseling just came in effect in August. This is very important. If you're doing any home buyer activity, you need to have it is required to have a HUD certified counselor that the home buyers go through a HUD certified counseling session. There's a link there that you can link on, which explains that a little bit more. If you need some more technical assistance on that part, please reach out to myself or your program rep. Need 200 possible points. Describe the organization's need for the operating. Oh, now we're going into the operating. I'm sorry. So this finished up the project or the program application. Then we go right into a CHDO organizational operating application, and the need here is 200 points. And describe to us how your organization could use the CHDO operating funds, what your plan on using it for. You sending staff to training, or you do you need some programs, or do you plan on paying for salaries? Just let us know what you plan on doing with the funds to get your organization up to that capacity to have a project. Be sure to upload a map of your service area and the impact on housing, 100 possible points. Describe the overall impact of your organization in the service area or the community. Identify the financial support of the total operating funds, how it will assist addressing the housing need of your service area. So the idea of an organizational operating grant is to build up your capacity to be able to do a housing project. And by the end of, if you get funded the organizational operating 2-year contract, by the end of that 2 years, you should be coming up with a project that you're going to apply in your total home application process. Then you get another 2 years to complete that project. Sustainability up to 100 points. How will your organization be sustainable for the next 2 or 3 years, even after you've used our money and after you have that project? What are the plans that the funds will still be coming in, and to be an organization that can be have great success? Financial management, again, balance sheet, income sheets, resumes, biographies of the development team is important to see, so we can see how your staff is, the background of the staff and what needs to be built on if you're doing the organizational operating. And Dan went over the system and what will be required to upload, and you'll get error messages if you forget to upload one. And application guidelines, forms, project calculators, all that is out there as an attachment or an exhibit. The FAQ, we'll see if we receive a lot of the same questions over and over again with the application and with other programs. They have put together frequently asked questions and put it out on the website, and so other applicants can see the other questions that have been asked. The Opens grant information, this table is for those organizations that have grants already from DED. Show us, to the best of your knowledge, what is still open and the status of the project and where you're at on those projects. And our applications require a notice of public hearing. This is a snip from the application process that Dan took you through. Make sure you get your public hearing done for the applications. Exhibits, this is the FETA form, and on the application process, it walks you through all the questions that need to be filled out. And Dan also talked about the SAM documentation that needs to be done. And I know I'm going through this quickly, so reach out to me if you need some more explanation. The four-factor analysis, what we call an LEP, that also, when you go through that process online, you'll end up answering all the questions. And then if you go in, you have to do an assessment, then you have to go on to the next section. Nonprofit or public housing authority application certification. So this also has an attachment that you have to fill out and then upload if you're a nonprofit or a public housing authority. And then another exhibit where you can click on, it should bring up right, Dan, and then they fill out and then they upload it. Determination of level, are you on, Dan?
Yes, I was going to chime in and say yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
You're good. The determination of level review, this is a little different than what we've done in the past. This application process, we're just going to ask you to check which determination your project fits under. And then the link up here can take you in to explain a little bit more detail of each one of those determinations. So we don't need anything uploaded on this one, just check which one best represents your project. And this is the certificate of good standing and how to get it, or if you don't have one, how to upload it to. Dan went over this, and I think I might have snipped this before he made some changes out there. It shows your budget, your income, your expenses. And if you need help with your budget, please, again, reach out to us, and we're here to help. Let's see, and then we talked about the operating cycle, it's 150,000, and two of the highest scoring applications will receive $75,000. And you have to have at least 200 points, and contracts for 2 years, 24 months. Performance plan, Dan had gone through this also on filling out your performance plan and your goals. And here's some more here. What we do want to see is completion dates, of course, all of it, but the completion dates and then how many units you think you're going to be able to perform, and your leverage funds. And then also when they do their performance plan and they put in their goals, is that something that they're going to be reporting on in the future if they're funded?
Hi, Michelle, it's Lynn. I can answer that. Yes, they'll use the performance plan to report out accomplishments throughout the implementation of the project.
Yep. So as you're building those goals, you got to think about, okay, how am I going to measure this to answer my reporting in the future if I get funded? And then your public hearing applications must be made available to the public to receive input and documentation summary, how the public to them, and then any feedback needs to be included in the application also. And also, if none was provided, we want to know that too. I made it to the end, and we have time to spare. Are there any other questions, Lynn, that came in?
So I think I've been getting everybody's questions as we went along. There were a couple people that I told them we'd follow up with them on because they had pretty specific questions. But I think I've taken care of everybody's questions in the chat.
Great, thank you, Lynn. Well, that concludes our webinar on the HOME applications. Good luck, everybody. And just a reminder that they are open and you're able to get in and start your application if you haven't done so already. They are due on September 30th at 6 p.m. Central, and not a second after because it will shut off. And reach out to us if you need our assistance. We're here to help. Thank you.